That's the magic of digital marketing.
My screen right away. I just wanted to be sure. So good. We're going to be looking at content strategy and content planning. Now, this is really diverse because it requires a whole lot because when it comes to content strategy and planning, content is the primary element of every marketing because you require a form of content to communicate to your audience. You require a form of content to speak to their pain points. You require a form of content to get them to take certain action. So being a content strategist is a lot. Now, this is a situation whereby you as a content marketer, you get to plan the entire content strategy of a team. And now this includes their content for their social media accounts, their content for either their YouTube page, Facebook, and basically everything that has to do with their content strategy. And then when you're doing all of these things, you need to have a certain goal in mind to the goal that you intend to achieve. Now, content strategy, as you can see, this is an infographics that's basically that is showing you a pattern on how a content strategy basically looks like. So first, basically you want to get into the creation process. You want to make research, you want to measure, you want to promote, you publish, and then you optimize. Now, this is a continuous process because you want to really ascertain how your content strategy is playing out in the market. So it's a process, and it's a cumbersome process because it requires a lot of research. You need to understand certain things. And if you remember the class I took, I spoke about um, audience research, how you get to know your audience, and how this information can be very helpful in regards um, to structuring your content and ensuring that your content relates with your audience. Now, let's head over to my second slide. Now, what is a content strategy? So it's a comprehensive plan that outlines how an organization will use content to achieve its business goal. It involves the planning, the creation, distribution, and management of content in a way that aligns with the target audience needs and the organization's objective. A well defined content strategy ensures that content is not only engaging and relevant, but also effectively drives conversion, builds brand awareness, and supports overall marketing efforts. Now you can see how cumbersome, or you can see all of the things that it entails, in order to build a content strategy. So I'm going to take it one line to another so we can basically delve in and get to understand each component of what a content strategy is. Now, this is much more than just creating a particular content. It's a long-term game. It's something that you have to plan. You need to have a specific goal at heart while you are planning your content strategy, and you really need to understand, how you really need to pull this through. You need to set specific kind of goals in order for you to plan your content strategy and also implement it. So as you can see, it's a comprehensive plan that outlines how an organization will use content to achieve its business goal. Now, in this regard, you need to look at content from all angles. We need to look at the content on your website, the content on your social media accounts, the content on your listing, how you're going to structure your content, video-based content, blog content, infographics, videos, all of these things you need to basically consider all of these things if you are building your content strategy. You need to understand what works in order for you to put together all this content strategy and basically um, get this content strategy to work and deliver the intended results. So here it says it involves the planning, creation, distribution, and management of content. Now you see, as a content strategist, you have to plan. Now you can you can create a content strategy for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year. Basically, this would help you plan your content creation, how you want to distribute this content on the various media channels. If you want to distribute more on Facebook, more on Instagram, more on X, more on TikTok, or more on YouTube. So all of these things, you need to plan them out. You need to understand where your customers are, where your audience are. Distribution and management of content in a way that it aligns with your target audience's needs rather. So now, as you can see, it all boils down to your target audience. So you need to understand where your target audience are, where they spend most of their time. Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? Is it on X? Is it on YouTube? Because all of these things are going to impact your content strategy. It's going to impact how you plan and structure your content strategy. Now, it says a well-defined content strategy ensures that content is not only engaging and relevant, but also effectively drives conversion. Now, this is important because, like, the previous lesson I took, I spoke about understanding your audience. When you perfectly understand your audience, you can now create content that will drive them to take specific actions that can be tagged as conversion. So basically, this is very important. As you are planning out your content strategy, you need to understand what form of content your audience likes, what kind of content they engage with, and how regularly you should create this content. If you want to test it and see if it performs as expected, you want to review the analytics and whatnot. So all of these things are a part of your content strategy. So let's forge ahead. So ensures that content is not only engaging and relevant, but also effectively drives conversion, builds brand awareness, and supports overall marketing efforts. Now, let's take a look at the key components of a content strategy. Now, when you want to build out a content strategy, we want to look at, what are key things that should be on your content strategy, okay? What are these things that you should look out for? What are these things that should make up your content strategy? First, you need to set up your goals and objective. Now, before you start up any project, you should have a goal at heart. You should have a specific goal at heart. Do you want to increase the following of your LinkedIn account from 1,000 to 5,000 within the next 6 months? Do you want to grow your social media presence on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram from 1K to 10K in 3 months? Now, these are goals and objectives. Now, it's important that before you get into any project, you need to state the goals and objective. Stating this would basically help you plan your content strategy. Okay, how many contents do I need to push? How many engagement do I get when I push one content? How many engagement do I get when I post two contents in a day? How many engagement do I get if I post this sort of content? Now, you need to have a goal and objective and then work towards it. Now, establishing clear goals for what the content should achieve, such as increasing website traffic, generating leads, boosting brand awareness, or improving customer engagement. Each goal should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be relevant, and time bound, which altogether here we have this, it should be smart basically. So when you want to set goals for your content marketing strategy, yeah, you want to make sure that it is clear, it is crystal clear, okay? And you want to make sure that this goal is achievable. Now, when you are starting out, you want to set reasonable goals, okay? From based on the results you have, you want to set reasonable goals. You do not want to set goals that are outrageous and it's overwhelming for you to attain. Well, not really overwhelming, but then looking at your current position or looking at your current content strategy, it would be delusional to think that you can achieve this height within a period of time. So you need to make sure that it is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So now there are a lot of goals. So it depends if you are tasked to create a content strategy, an entire content strategy. Now there are a lot of things you need to consider. First of all, it will also require you to work on the website. You also need to work on the content strategy on the website, which basically revolves around your inbound marketing. So it actually talks more about inbound because it speaks about the kind of content you create on your website, on your account, basically that would attract people. So if you are looking at increasing web traffic, you need to basically set specific goals, know the amount of traffic you are pulling into your website initially, and then analyze the form of content that is pulling this traffic into your website. And with this, you can make analysis and find ways where you can speak more on a certain topic to be able to increase your traffic views to your website. Now, if you want to generate leads, now you need to understand what lead channels is that business using to generate leads with their content. Are their leads generated using an opt-in form? Are their leads generated, using ad copies or specific form of ads? Are leads generated through Instagram or Facebook? Now, all of these things are things you need to consider, and all of these things will be basically captured in what a business needs in terms of their content strategy. Now, if it's to boost awareness, you need to understand, so this is what they want. They want to boost awareness. What can we do to boost awareness? Should we leverage only on inbound marketing, or should we leverage outbound marketing as well? Now, these are things that you need to consider as a content strategist in order for you to be able to align the strategies that will be required to achieve these goals. Or do you want to improve customer engagement? So you have certain form of content and you want to improve engagement. So you need to test what kind of content are people engaging with on my account. Are people engaging with educational form of content the most, or are people engaging um, with or are people engaging with how to content on my account? You just need to analyze these things from past data, or you can review your competitor to find out what is working for them and basically implement that. So this all revolves around you ensuring that you are setting the right goals. And once you have this initially set up, you can basically drive your effort, your strategy, and everything that you're doing towards achieving these goals and objectives. So within these key components, I spoke about SMART, basically, where we said, your goals should be specific. You need to be clear on what you want to accomplish. I spoke about this, if you want more engagement, if you want more leads, if you want more conversion on a sign-up form, all of these things, you need to be very specific and outline strategies and ways you intend to leverage to achieve these specific goals. Now, you also need to make sure it is measurable. Now, one thing about digital marketing is the fact that you can measure your efforts to ascertain if your strategy is working or not. Now, these goals should be quantifiable. For example, generate 1 lead per month. Now, we spoke about lead generation if you want to generate leads. So let's say for the past 2 months, or for the past 6 months as a business, you have been able to generate 2 to 5 leads, consistently with a certain strategy. Now you have been able to ascertain the average number of leads you generate in a month and within a period of 6 months. Now, if you as a content strategy, you are onboarded to come and help them make significant progress. Now, what you need to do is to ascertain what they have been working with, the content strategy, whatever it is they are doing, ascertain the results, and with that result, you can double down on what they are doing to, create an expectation. And now it's important that it's achievable, which we are going to get to. Now, with this, you are now able to set up a measurable target that it's attainable. And the goal will be to attain it and even crush it, basically to supersede it. Now, let's look at A, which is for achievable. Now, the goal should not be too easy or too hard. Set ambitious but realistic targets. Now, let's say as a business here, you're making 1 lead a month, and from 1 lead, you want to make 20 leads in a month. Now, despite, like it says here, you should not be, so ambitious. You should set realistic goals. Now, it's important that, since you are generating 1 lead a month, you should work on how you can basically generate 5 to 7, and require a lot of effort. It will require you to double down on what you're doing. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to, I got a message regarding our class. I just want to check to be sure all is fine. Now, the next one, we spoke about your goals being achievable. Now, the goal should not be too easy, too hard. Set ambitious but realistic targets. Now, we have actually spoken about that. Now, relevant. The target should align with your business goals. Now, it should be relevant, basically. When it means relevant is what exactly is required to move the needle in a business or in an organization. So if they require a lot of engagement. So let's say it's a business that publishes content, and basically they want people to stay longer on their website because they have AdSense active on their website, because when people stay longer, they are able to engage with their content, and they are able to make money from engagement from ad clicks. Now you would want to ensure that you, as a content strategist, yeah, whatever you are doing, you are working on how you can retain attention of people on their websites. Now, it will be irrelevant for you to work on sending people to their social media accounts, because even though it's something they want, but that's not what moves the needle for that business. So you should make sure that whatever you're doing aligns with the business goal of the client, or the organization that you're working for. And here it says time bound. Now set a time frame and or a clear deadline for achieving your goals. Now setting time bounds is very important, because it helps you to stay on track. It helps you to stay on your feet. You know that you have a certain you have a certain amount of time to achieve certain goals. So you need to stay on your feet, put in the work to get that done. And like I've said earlier, you need to make sure that your goal is smart. Okay, yeah, looking at that, I made mention of inbound um, and outbound marketing. So I felt it's important that we speak about it here. It's so you can just understand what inbound and outbound marketing is. So now inbound marketing, so it's a form of marketing whereby as a business you create content to attract people, or you build your content strategy to attract people to your business, whereby you do not need to run ads to go look for them. They are able to find your business and get into your system. While outbound marketing involves a marketing strategy where you need to go out into the open, you need to go out to the market to get people to see what you're doing, to get people to um, find your product, find your services, and engage with your business. Now, one of the reasons I brought this up is because, if you want to build up your content strategy, you would require a mix of inbound and outbound marketing to be able to help you to get the results that you want. Now, let's take a look at a few things that can help you identify inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Now, here you can see it's responsible for 90% of clicks on the website, low average cost to acquire a new customer, inbound marketing, earning attention organically without interrupting anyone's path, powered by creativity, talent, and effort. And it has generates momentum, making future effort easier. Now, these are just some basic characteristics of inbound marketing. So these are things you would see, and you can now tell that, okay, this business is using an inbound marketing strategy. So we'll dive deep into it. Now, for interruption marketing, so why it's called interruption marketing is because it comes at you, okay? It's not something you are looking for. And I'll dive deep into it, and you're going to get to understand why it's called interruption marketing, and why inbound marketing is a form of marketing that happens organically, where you are the one seeking that information. Now, for outbound marketing, say responsible for 10% of clicks on the website, less than 10% of clicks on the website, higher average cost to acquire a new customer. Now, why it says that it's responsible for less than 10% of clicks on the website? Basically because a lot of the people who would be seeing your form of promotion, outbound marketing requires you promoting, where you promote and you get to reach people. Yeah, where you get to reach people basically for them to check out your product or service. That's why it's called interruption based marketing. While for inbound marketing, it's a marketing strategy whereby you position your brand to attract people. Now, let's take a look at some of the ways this can be done. This is SEO and PPC. Now, SEO simply means search engine optimization. I think it's something that we are going to speak about. Now, what SEO means is that you as a business, you are optimizing your website for the search engines. Now, if you initiate a search on Google. So let me try to initiate. I think I made this reference where I spoke about identifying your target audience, where I searched for blue bags, if you remember from the last session I took. Now, SEO simply means when you optimize your business to show up for that relevant keyword. Now, it's organic. So let me search for it again and show you what blue bag. If I just search for blue bag, basically. Now you can see this is a store, blue bag store. Okay, blue. Now, if I search for blue school bag, now one of the reasons why inbound marketing, it actually here, just as it says, earning attention organically without interrupting anyone's path. Now, why inbound marketing works this way is because at the moment I had to search for this because I wanted to buy this. So that's why I'm searching for this. Now, there was no ad that popped up on my face that is telling me that, hey, buy this bag, you would need it. As you can see, the first website here I'm seeing is Gigi. I can see a blue bag. Now, this is happening because Gigi now optimized its account so that when someone searches for that keyword, it's going to actually pop up. Now, this is what inbound marketing is, whereby as a business, you set up structure so that when people are searching for a product that you offer, you automatically pop up. Search engine automatically displays your product up for grab. Now, let me use another keyword. Let me use washing machine. Now, as you can see, now here, it says SEO and PPC. PPC means paid per click. PPC simply means pay per clicks. Now what this does is, you see I search for is for a washing machine. As you can see, these are options of washing machines, and here it says sponsored. Now what this means is that now this sponsored, it means that the business is paying for this result to display on this page on the first section here on Google. It means the business is basically paying for this, and they only get charged when I click on this. So that's what pay per click means. It's because they have optimized their ads. So it's also a form of outbound marketing, but it's because this doesn't actually disrupt you. Now that's the difference. This doesn't disrupt you where you're doing something and then you just see an ad that disrupts you. Now this is based on search intent. So because I searched for a washing machine, now they had to display this ad for me, so I can actually click on it now because it is well tailored to what I am looking for. Now that's why it's called inbound. The next one, we have opt-in email list. Now, opt-in email list, if you've been to a website and before you leave, there is a pop-up asking you to subscribe to their mailing list. So let's say after you read a blog post, an interesting blog post, and they're asking you to subscribe to their mailing list. Now you found that website because you were looking for certain information. And now this is a marketing strategy that they didn't have to disrupt you, or they didn't have to pull you over to their website. You found their website because you were looking for certain information on the internet. And because you love their content, you signed up and you opted into their mailing list. So this is what inbound marketing is. Now, when you're authoring books and prints, now you can create valuable content and then advertise your business. When people buy this book, they'll certainly get to engage with your brand. Now, when you are supporting and sponsoring events, so this is also a form of inbound marketing where you are laying strategic prints in order to attract people to find your business. Now, there are actually quite a lot you can go and read on inbound marketing and outbound marketing, so you can basically understand it. So the basics of this is so you can know how to apply this into building your content strategy in order to deliver or in order to get the results that you desire. Now, for outbound marketing, we have search spam, we have paid and rented email list. So this is a situation whereby you have to go scrub email list from the internet in order to reach out to people. It's called cold emailing. Now, TV, radio, and print ads, where you go out to TV, radio to publicize about your business. So let's say there's a show going on, and there will be some commercials where businesses are advertising to you and telling you, this is what they do and whatnot. Billboard and outdoor advertising, contextual outbound calls, outbound sales calls where people get to call you. You could just be in your office or doing something. Someone will just call you and, hey, introduce a business or a product to you. Now, it's important you understand inbound and outbound marketing. That way, when you are trying to achieve your goals and objective, you know how best to get these strategies, inculcate these strategies into your overall plan in order to achieve the result that you want. Now, moving forward, the next one here after the key components, the first one I spoke about is goals and objectives. The next one we'll be looking at is target audience. Now, one thing about marketing or digital marketing as a whole, we do not just reach out to anyone. We need to be sure, or we need to set up certain indicators to help us. We need to set up certain key markers, which is going to help us at least ascertain if this person would be a right fit. We're not just reaching out to random people and expect results. Now, you need to ensure that you understand your target audience. Now, identifying the target audience is crucial for developing a content strategy. This involves creating buyer's persona that includes demographic information, pain points, interest, and behavior. Understanding the audience helps in creating content that resonates with them and drives the desired action. Now, I am not going to dwell so much on this. I'm not going to dwell so much on this because this is what I taught in the last few sessions I handled, where we spoke about your target audience, how to identify them, their pain points, and a couple of other things that would help you better streamline your marketing or your campaign towards your target audience. Now, the next thing we're going to look at when it comes to a few components that you should have on your content strategy is content audit. So first of all, you want to know what is working, basically. So if you are contracted to come manage the content strategy of a business, you want to look into what they have, what is working already, the existing form of content that they are sharing, what they are doing, basically. So it's important that you conduct a content audit for that business. So let's read through the content we have here. Content audit. Conducting a content audit involves reviewing existing content to determine what is working, what needs improvement, and what gaps exist. This helps in repurposing valuable content and aligning future content creation efforts with the strategy. Now, one of the reasons why this is important is because you do not want to get into a content strategy and start implementing things that have failed in the past. Okay, now it's different if you are building a content strategy for a new business entirely, but if you are tasked to create a content strategy for an existing business, it's important for you to look into the existing content. Okay, determine what has been working. Is it their video ads? Are this form of content working? Their blogs, are they getting a lot of results with this form of keyword? Are they getting a lot of engagement on contents that are related to certain industries? You need to look into all of these things. You need to look into the kind of visuals they use for social media. Are they getting a lot of engagement? If engagement is important in their marketing strategy, are they getting a lot of that? And are they getting, so let's say they are a B2B business and generally they want leads. You want to look at the channels that they leverage for outreach, if it's LinkedIn approach, Instagram approach, Facebook cold DM or sending cold emails. You want to see what messaging they have used, what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked, and all of these things would help you to understand their content strategy. If it means doubling down on what is working to get more results, you know where to tailor a lot of your effort. And if it means you want to develop new strategies from what is working, now that is also another point. If you have insight on what is not working, it's important that you don't waste time and resources into that content strategy, because you have seen over time that it didn't work for that business. So you just need to focus on what works, reiterate, and then you can now come up with new ideas based off the result that you have, in order to ensure that you are basically striving towards success. Now, what you need to look at is the contact. Um, you need to look at the content types and formats. Now, defining the types of contents that will be created, e.g., blog posts, videos, infographics, ebooks, podcasts, webinars, and the format that works best for the target audience and platforms. Now, this is very important because, like I said, every business have different target audiences. They have different personas. So it's important that you need to know the form of content that works well. You need to know the form of content that works well. If they if they get a lot of tractions from creating video content, you need to basically know what form of video content that drives a lot more engagement for that brand. Now, this is very important. If the business you are working with, or you're working for, is, let's say, a publication form of business where they do a lot on publications, you need to know what kind of content pulls in a lot of attention from readers. Now, these are things you need to know. You basically know that for a business that is in the publishing space, they might not want to share a lot of video content on certain platforms because of their audience and a couple of other things. So you need to understand what content format works for certain businesses. If it's just text-based format, if it's video-based format, if it's webinars for conversion, where they have to hold webinars, educate people. If it's a coaching business, you need to understand what type of content, yeah, it's required for you to get to your goals and objective. Now, all of these things are things that you need to look at, and all of these things could fall under, either having an inbound strategy or an outbound strategy. Now, when it comes to blog posts, now this is a form of inbound marketing strategy. When it comes to webinars it depends on how the webinar is held. Some webinars are sales-based webinars where businesses could run ads, get leads, and then want to sell to them. Or it could be, let's say, a workshop. So you just need to basically understand what content format works for your audience. Once you are able to ascertain what content format works for your audience, then you can now start building on that content format. So if a certain content format hasn't been tested by that business, you can say, okay, great, this is a certain content format we haven't tested. We can test it out and see what the outcome would be. Now, there are metrics you could use to measure, the engagement, and then get to know if this content strategy that you are trying out is actually working. If it's working, yeah, great. You have now found new ideas that you can leverage to increase engagement and conversion for that business. And with that process, you get to understand where to actually double down on, where to put in a lot of effort in order to meet the objective of that business. Now, speaking on content audit, we spoke about content audit. Now, here is a process. So here, for this process here, they are making reference to a website actually. Now they are making reference to a website. So now this can be a website, this can be your social media account, let's say Facebook, or let's work with Instagram rather. So this is your website, yeah. So you want to make an inventory of index pages. Now on a website, there are certain pages that people do not get to look at a lot, and these pages could be it could be certain help pages. You might not really get a lot of people who are searching for those pages on the internet. You just get a few. A lot of people are looking for answers. So you need to check the website, make an inventory of index pages. So which pages are people accessing the most? Which pages are people getting into the most? Is it your homepage? Is it your blog page about a certain topic? You want to make an inventory of all of these pages that people get to on a daily basis. Then select your KPI. So if you have forms on that blog, so if there are some blog posts where you go to and you see a form where they ask you to sign up for our newsletter if you want to get more insight on what you do now, you can highlight that as a KPI, or you can have a form, or you can have a certain action on that page where that you want people to take. Now that can be a KPI, or it could be the amount of time a user spent on your website, because you want people to, read your content, to digest and consume your content, which is good for search engines. Now, this can be your KPI. Okay. Now, once you now have your pages, you want to see what's the average time people are spending on my website. Now, there are about 400 people got to this page. How many people signed up for our newsletter with the pop-up form on the website? Now, this is something that you would have to check. Now, there are a few things you can actually look for. If about 400 people go to your blog page or your landing page, and then just 2 or 3% of these people signed up for your newsletter with your pop-up form, that it could be that probably your copy, the copy on your pop-up form isn't strong enough. It's not convincing, the image. So you might need to make a couple of changes to it, because if you are sending relevant traffic to it and you are not getting a lot of people to fill in that form, then you might need to carry out a bit of optimization to help improve their KPI. Now, let's take, for example, an e-commerce store. An e-commerce store could have a pop-up form on their website that offers first-time customers certain discounts off. So you could test that and see if it's converting. If it's not converting, you can try out several offers. Once you are able to identify which offer is converting the most, you have been able to come to a conclusion. Now, this is actually going to help the business to improve its conversion. Now, like I said, you conduct analysis. So once you now have your KPIs, you conduct analysis, you check and see, what you could change. And the next step here is to improve your content. I spoke about having iterations of your copies, images, the call to action process, just to see how much conversion you would expect after testing out all of these copies. Now, repeat every time you work with content. Now, this is basically just a website where you're just trying to index the pages and get to see the level of engagement on the blog and other content on the website. Now, once you are able to improve the content and you are able to test, you are able to repeat this, you are now able to come up with a conclusion on the content that performed the most, and find ways you can basically optimize that content to get better results. And once you have that, you can also try out other forms of content to see how best it performs. Now let's see if we have looked at this. Yeah, we've looked at this already. Now the next one is create content creation and editorial plan. Now, developing a content calendar that outlines what content will be created, who will create it, when it will be published, and where it will be distributed. This helps ensure consistency, relevance, and timeliness in content delivery. Now, once you have been able to identify your audience, you've been able to, you're done with your content audit, you're able to look at the different content types and formats. Now it's now time for you to come up with a plan. Now, most times it's important you develop a content calendar. A content calendar is, let me make a search and let's see a content calendar. So we can just have a visual representation of what a content calendar looks like. Now, this is what a content calendar looks like. So it's more like a calendar where you get to see days of the week, the content that is scheduled for that day of the week, and all. Then would have to look at a typical content calendar. And for some content calendars, you can create your content on the content calendar and have it scheduled from that calendar. So this is something that can be done on, I think you can do this on Facebook. I think even Canva, I've used Canva to schedule content and plan content. It's actually on the paid version or on the paid plan, where you have a calendar for the whole month and you are able to strategically log in, the form of content you want to share. If it's video based content, if it's image based content, you can basically plan out your content strategy on that calendar, either for it to be sent out on specific days, or for members of your team to go into the calendar, see what is scheduled for that day and how they can ensure that that content goes out. Now there are different forms of content calendars, basically how it's structured and all. So you can, initiate a search and explore more on content calendars. Now, moving forward, now developing a content calendar that outlines what content will be created, who will create it. Now, as a content strategist, you might not really be in the best position to create certain form of content. As a content strategist, you might not really be the guy who would want to create a video content. When I mean create a video content, record it, do the edits and all. Once you have these things structured on a calendar, now this team will now get into work, assign certain tasks to their video team, assign certain tasks to their team of copywriters, and basically, as it says, this tasks will be distributed amongst the team, and the team can now basically plan on how they can implement this content strategy and over time track and analyze the results from the entire content strategy. So it's important that you have a calendar. So this calendar, you can design certain contents to go out in the morning. Some should go out on Instagram, some should go out on Facebook, or if you want your content to go out on all your social media platform at once, all of these things should be on your content calendar, so that when the implementation team gets on board, they can head over to the calendar. Okay, what content do we schedule on the 1st of September? What content should we schedule on the 2nd of September? What's the magnitude of work that needs to be done in order for this form of content to be ready for it to go out? Now, all of these things should be on your content calendar. That way, it's easy for team members across all boards to get to work on implementing the tasks on the content calendar. And also, as you can see, it also says that the content calendar can even go as deep as where you get to allocate people who should work on certain form of content. If you are a part of the team, you can now know who is in this department and who is in the proper position to work on certain form of content. Now, so once you're done with that part, you also need to look at the distribution channel. I highlighted it while I was speaking on content creation and editorial plan. Now, for distribution channels, identifying the best channels for distributing content, such as social media platforms, email newsletters, websites, third-party sites. This ensures that content reaches the right audience in the most effective way. Now, during the course of this class, I've made mention of different channels and how understanding your audience, where they're at, where they spend their time, it's very important, because when you have all of this information, you can now structure all this information on your content calendar. Okay, you know what channel you should focus a lot of energy on when it comes to creating content. So if you get a lot of traction from Instagram and you don't really get that much traction on LinkedIn, but then your customers are more on Instagram. Now it just makes sense that you double a lot of effort towards the number of content you share on Instagram. While on LinkedIn you could just post sparingly. But if you get a lot of your clients, you get a lot of engagement, and LinkedIn is your your primary source for lead generation, then it's just important that you prioritize that channel, while you are still able to maintain engagement with your audience on other channels. So it's important that all of these things are discussed and they are highlighted on the calendar. So that way, anyone who gets into the content calendar, they can just head over to the specific date in a month, and every single information that they need will be on that calendar, and it's a lot more easier for them to act on the information that's on the calendar. Now, the next one is SEO and optimization. Now, ensuring that content is optimized for search engines through keyword research and on-page SEO and other optimization techniques. This improves content visibility and organic traffic. Now, this option here is talking about web-based content. Okay, so SEO is it's talking about web-based content, and it can also apply to content you share on social media, on accounts like Facebook, on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Because SEO basically means when you are optimizing, it means search engine optimization. So you can also perform search engine optimization on places like Instagram, where if you want to share a picture, you use relevant hashtags. Now, a lot of people would go to Instagram, and if they want to search for something, they will just search for, let's say someone is searching for fashion based products. Okay, so a man is searching for some native wears that he wants to buy. So as a business, you can post this these products that you have and use hashtags: male fashion, male casual, male native attire, and so on. Now, this is you also implementing search engine. Moving forward, I'm going to speak in depth on what search engine optimization is, the different aspects of search engines, and how this is important for businesses that leverage their Google in order to generate leads to their business. Now, there are on SEO, there are three categories on SEO. So we have the on-page SEO, we have the off-page SEO, and technical SEO. I'm just highlighting this now, but moving forward, we're going to look at SEO as a whole, where we're going to look at the different categories on SEO and how you can basically optimize your website, um, how you can basically optimize your website focusing on these categories, and at the end it helps you to improve visibility of your entire website. Now here it says ensuring that the content is optimized for search engine through keywords research, on page SEO, and other optimization techniques. This improves content visibility and organic traffic. Now if you remember earlier, before now, I searched for blue school bag on Google. Now, what happens is that let me do that again. Blue school bag. Now, let me give you an insight on how SEO works. Now, this here is a keyword. When I search for this keyword, now what search engine does is that the search engine goes through the internet and search for websites that has either blue bag or blue school bag, and it actually pops it up for me. So let's say you are working as a content strategist and you want to help businesses that sells a form of cosmetic product that helps treat certain skin blemish on the face. Now that can be a keyword basically. So when people search for how to treat skin blemish on the face, since you have that form of content, search engine is going to populate that content to your readers, and that way it's helping you to basically increase organic traffic, because now it's also a form of inbound marketing. So whereby people are able to find your website, or people are able to find your business because you have created certain content that is important to people that are experiencing certain problems, and then search engine now serves as a channel that is going to aid your business, and that client to find a mutual space where you guys can now connect with each other. So now your audience would basically connect with your business from your blog post, because most likely you have this content on your blog post. Now, what a lot of businesses do is once they have this content on their blog post, once you are reading, you're going to see suggestions of, hey, we do this, we can help you do this, and here's a form, you can fill out this form with this information. We are going to send you a guide that can help you with natural products that will help you solve this problem. Now, once the reader takes this action, in the future, they could send them marketing emails of products they have that can help them solve the issue of skin blemishes that they are actually experiencing. So now these are different marketing channels that you need to explore if organic traffic is important for certain business. Okay, let's head over to the next one. So next we'll be looking at performance measurement and analytics. Setting key performance indicators and using analytic tools to measure the effectiveness of the content strategy. Metrics such as page views, engagement rates, conversion rates, and socials shares help in assessing what's working and what needs adjustment. So now, basically what this is talking about is measuring the effectiveness of your content strategy. Okay, so once you are done with your plans, with the content that you intend to share, and every other thing on your content calendar, it's now important for you to carry out this process for a couple of months. So let's say you have a content calendar that's going to span a period of 6 months. After a month, you can check the analytics to see what is working, if your speculations are right, if you are able to generate a lot of traffic or a lot of engagement from certain channel. Now, this is the point where you will review your entire content marketing strategy and see if it's working, if you are getting the results that you expected, if it's improving from the previous performance. So now this is very important because digital marketing is targeted and it's also measurable. So you are able to gain insight into what you are doing and for you to ascertain if it is working or if it's not. So they say it's important you set key performance indicator. Now, if you have a website, like I explained earlier, it could be one of your key performance indicator could be a conversion when someone fills in an opt-in form. Now you can have that as a key performance indicator, and at the end of the month, you can analyze how many people got to this page and how many people got to fill this form on the website. Now, this way you are able to measure the effectiveness of your content strategy. So if your goal is to prove, how much people share your content. So if your goal is to improve shares on your content, you want people to share your content, then you can review, your entire content strategy. Now, so let's say you are getting 2 to 4 shares on each content that you post on social media. Now, after certain form of optimization, so let's say in your videos, you are now recommending people to share your videos to their community, to their friends, so they can also help them as well. So this is now something that you have added to your videos. Now, at the end of certain period, you want to check, is this working? Are we able to get more shares by asking people to actually share our videos? Now, these are certain metrics that you need to pay attention to once you start implementing your content marketing strategy. Now, content governance. So defining roles, responsibility, and processes for content creation, review, and approval. So this helps maintain content quality, consistency, and alignment with brand guidelines. Now, it's really, really important, once you as a content strategist, you are able to set up the content calendar. It's now the point for you to assign roles. I spoke about this initially. Now, who should manage the visual part of the content creation? Who should create the videos? Who should ensure that this post goes out this time? Who should ensure that this post goes out to Instagram and Facebook? And if there is a process where someone has to review and approve it before a certain time, so it can actually go out on time, you need to make sure that all of these things are in place. Your content has proper structure and it's actually maintained. Now, as it says, this helps maintain content quality, consistency, and alignment with brand guidelines. Now, there are some businesses where they have brand guidelines. Okay, so there are certain colors that you should not use on their media files. There are ways you should not position their logo and so on. So if you outsource your visual design work to someone, let's say a freelancer and all, you should also have in place someone who is going to review and approve your content. Okay, so that way this person has good knowledge on the kind of content that you want to create, and this will help your brand maintain consistency, and you are able to stick to your brand values and your brand guide. So that way you don't just have content go out without proper review and without proper review and approval. So it's important that all of these things are set in place in order for you to properly implement your content strategy. So we'll be going on a break, and going on this break, this is going to give you time to fill out the attendance. So it's a 5-minute break, so you can fill out the attendance. And when we come back, I'm going to go over the process of developing a content strategy. So at this point, we spoke about some key components, that should be on your content strategy. Now, when I get back, we're going to be looking at the process of developing a content strategy.
All our social media platforms. Have you ever read something that just clicked, made you laugh, cry, or buy? That's the magic of words, my friend.
Hello guys, and you're welcome back after the break. I hope that you have taken your attendance, and yeah. So before I commence the class, I just want to point this out, and want to actually thank you guys for doing a great job. And it got to my notice that the students for content and copywriting, you won the best class of the week, based on your ratings of the last week notes and every other assignments that we're actually given. So you guys are doing a great job, and please, it's want to actually let you know that you should actually keep it up and keep up with the momentum. So please actually celebrate yourself because you really deserve it. So without further ado, I'm going to jump back into the lesson notes. Yeah, we're going to pick up right where I left off, and this is going to last for 30 minutes so that by 8:30 I can start taking your questions. So from the things that I spoke about during the first half of this lesson, please, if there are things you do not understand, take them down, and when it's time for question and answers, please drop them on the chat, so that I would respond to it. Yeah, I can see your emojis on the chat. You guys did a great job, and let's actually keep it up. Let us keep it up. So yeah, let me run back into the lesson notes and let's continue. So having looked at the key components, that should be on a content strategy, we're now going to dive into actual details so that we're going to see how we are going to look at the process, for developing a content strategy. Now, developing a content strategy involves a detailed step-by-step process that aligns content creation and distribution efforts with an organization's business goals and audience needs. Below is an in-depth breakdown of the process for developing a comprehensive content strategy. So the first thing to do is to basically define your goals and objectives. I mentioned this earlier. So the foundation of any content strategy begins with setting clear and measurable goals. This involves understanding what the organization aims to achieve through its content efforts. Goals should be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So I have spoken about all of these things here. So the next line says, common objective for content strategies includes now increasing website traffic and engagement, generating leads or driving conversions, building brand awareness and authority, and educating and nurturing customers, improving customer retention and loyalty. So when it comes to defining your goal, I'm not going to dwell so much on this because we have looked at this initially. So good, you just need to basically understand what the goal of the business is. And when defining your goals, you can highlight every goal, every goal that you hope to achieve and how that goal basically tailors down into achieving, the main goal of the business, basically. So now here is an example. A B2B company might set a goal to generate 30% more qualified leads through content marketing by the end of the year. Now this here can be an objective of a business where they want to generate 30% more qualified leads through content marketing by the end of the year. Now, once they have this as their overall goal, now as a content strategist, you are going to come on board to lay out strategies on how this business can basically generate 30% more qualified leads through content marketing. Now you need to look at what content marketing strategies they have been using to generate leads. Okay, so once you are able to identify what content marketing strategies they have been using, if it's through blog posts, if it's through creating social media content, if it's creating video-based content on YouTube and on social media, now you need to double down on this, find out how you can increase your conversion on these channels. Now, this is how you can, over time, help this business to attain the goal of generating 30% more qualified leads. Now, the second one is conduct audience research and develop personas. Now, this is something that I believe you are all familiar with. We spoke about this the last time I had a session with you, and we're just going to read through this basically. So this will serve as, it will just help us refresh our memory on what we learned a couple of weeks back. Now, the first is understanding the target audience is crucial for developing content that resonates. This involves detailed audience research to create buyer's persona, which are semi-fictional representations of ideal customer based on data and insights. I mean, this is something that you should be very, very familiar with because we spoke about what audience research is and target audience. We went really, really deep. Now, let's head over to the next line. Demography. When it comes to conducting audience research and when it comes to developing a persona, you need to understand the demography of your ideal prospect or customer. Now, you need to get an ideal range of their age, their gender, their income level, education, and etc. There are quite a number of things. So if you need more insight on this, you can check out the last few sessions that I anchored, and you're going to be able to find more information about how to conduct audience research and how you can basically use this information to um, improve your marketing process. Now, we also looked at psychographics where we spoke about interest, values, lifestyle, pain points, and challenges. Now, these are things that you need to look at. What interests your target audience? Are they interested in certain form of content? Are they interested in football? Are they interested in sport? Are they interested in tech? What are their values? What are their lifestyle, their pain points? With their interest, you're able to tell their pain points. Are they looking for better ways they can use certain tech products? Are they looking for better ways they can actually achieve their goal based on their interest? What are their challenges? Now, it's important that you know their challenges because you can use this to get to your target audience. So if your target audience um, is struggling with screens, you can tell them that now that is a challenge. Once you know that challenge, you can use that in your marketing copy. Are you experiencing eye challenges because of constant exposure to your phone or to your laptop? Here are tips that can help you to minimize the effect on your eyes, reduce the brightness of your screen. And if you really want to be efficient in doing this, we sell Blu-ray glasses. And now with this, because you understand their challenges, you are now able to use their challenges to sell to them. You can basically iterate the dangers of being exposed to ultraviolet light for a long time, and basically taunts them with the after effect of this. And now this is actually going to help increase the desire for your product. So that's why it's important you understand all of these things, as it's important, and it's going to help you advance your prospect from one point in the sales cycle to another. Now the other one, behavioral data. So buying behavior, content consumption patterns, preferred channels, and whatnot. So this is also very important. You need to understand their buying behaviors. Now this also largely has to do with their income level. It just means that people who earn high, they also tend to spend on it. They also tend to spend on certain ones, and they get to spend high on certain products because these people, they like luxury products, just to be able to fit into their status and lifestyle. So you basically have an idea on their buying behavior and the kind of content that appeals to them. So for people who appreciate luxury products, you need to understand, how to prepare the content that you serve to these people. You need to take note of the camera quality, the environment, and all of these things. Now, it's because you have insight on their behavioral data, you are able to use this information to structure your content in a way that it appeals to them. Now, let's take a look at methods for audience research. Now, there are quite a number of ways you can gain insights on your audience. There are quite a number of ways you can gain insights on your audience. So you can leverage surveys and feedbacks. You can leverage surveys and feedback forms. So this can be from your existing this can be from your existing customers, because you just want to gain more insight on your existing customers, because with this insight you can find people that are like them. If you have engaged with certain customer care with certain businesses online, and you engage with their customer rep, you see after your engagement you'll be given a survey for you to rate their performance and the quality of their service. They are basically getting feedback from you, and this is important for them because it helps them to improve in the quality of service that they are offering. It helps them to gain insight into how well their customer reps are performing. And now for surveys, you can also use surveys to gain insight about your customers. Okay, where did you find us? What made you patronize? Or certain questions that are important and that you can use for decision making. Now, there are businesses that use surveys. They can just send you an email. Please participate in this survey. In participating in this survey, there's an incentive. You either, so if it's for an e-commerce brand, they might offer you a coupon, they might offer you a certain percentage off. So just for them to get to know you a lot more better, because it's important to them. Because that way they can now create products, they can now create ads that you will better resonate to as their customers, which basically means more money for them. So it's very important that they are able to gather this data. Now, you can also get this data using social media insights. Now, if you look through your social media accounts, if you publish a video, you get to see insights. How many people got to see your videos? How many likes? Who are the people that engaged with your content and those. Now, some of these social insights are important because you can get to see, the range of ages, the age range of people that engaged with your content. Now it gives you more insights on the people that appreciate your kind of content. So you can double down on what you're doing to create that form of content because it is working for your business. Now we have website analytics tool like Google Analytics. Now Google Analytics is a tool that helps you to gain insights on the activities on your website. So if you haven't heard of Google Analytics, it's a tool. So what you just need to do is that you need to set up this tool. Google Analytics will give you certain tracking codes or certain codes that you need to add to your website. What this does is with this code, they are now able to pull data from your website. They are able to get certain information from your website, which includes the traffic on your website, the traffic drop, a conversion. So if you set up certain events for conversion, where your conversion could be when someone signs up for a newsletter on your website, where someone makes a purchase. So with Google Analytics, you are able to get this insight, and with this insight, you are now able to make certain decisions because of the insights. Now, let's take a look at the next one, competitors analysis. Now, you want to see what your competitors are doing. Okay, you want to spy on them. I mean, it's totally okay if they are getting results with certain strategy. It means it will also work for you too. You just need to come with a different approach, but then bank on what you see it's actually working for your competitors. So it's important you can look through their content strategy, you can look at how they structure their content, you can look at their overall branding, what's that perception that they are trying to portray to their customers. Now all of these things are things where that you can do to get actual data and results, and you can now implement this in your business as well in order for you to also appeal to those customers that they have, because hey, you also want to get a hold of a few of their customers just like they are able to get a hold of your customers as well. Now the next one we'll be looking at is customer interviews and focus group. Now there's something that actually came to my mind under competitors analysis. You can basically join their groups, their communities, and see what they are doing wrong. So you can check, you can look at their comment sections, what are people complaining about, and you can use that as a selling point for your business. So let's say a certain fintech company. So let's say for a certain fintech company, yeah, they always have delays and issue when it comes to making payments. You can leverage that as a selling point for your business and say, as a business, we are swift, we are reliable, we process payments instantly, and you can actually bank on us. Now, because you understand this as the pain point of your competitors, you are now able to work on that and use that as a selling point to capture more of your target audience. Customer interviews and focus group. Now, if you can interview your customers, you can invite certain customers. So it depends on what you're doing as a business. So if a certain customer or if a certain focus group spend a lot of money on your business, so let's say they make huge purchases, you want to ask them certain questions to get to understand, okay, who are these people, what do they do, why are they making bulk purchases. Now all of these questions are important because it's going to help you to reach out to more people who are like your focus groups, because there are more of them out there. So if you have all of this information, it is really, really going to aid you to improve your customer base by targeting people with similar characteristics in the market. Now, let's take a look at an example of a buyer's buyer's persona. Like I said, we spoke about this the last time. Now, example, a buyer persona for a SaaS company, software as a service. So that's what this means basically. SaaS. A buyer's persona for a SaaS company could be marketing manager Mark, a 35-year-old professional looking for tools to streamline his team's marketing efforts. So I'm not going to speak a lot about this example. Please, you can watch the previous session, and there you get to understand, how what a customer persona is and how we're able to identify various customer persona on that session. Now, the next one is here for step 3. Now, this is a step-by-step process. So once you are done defining your goal and the objectives that you intend to achieve, you also want to conduct audience research so you can basically have deep insights on people that you want to reach out to, people that are your potential customers. Once you are done with this research and you have this information down, the next thing you want to look at is now you want to perform an audit on the content strategy that's in place initially. So now a content audit involves a comprehensive analysis of all existing content across all platforms. This step helps in identifying content that is performing well, content that needs updating or repurposing, and gaps that needs to be filled. Now, I've actually explained this initially. I'll just run through this quite fast. So here, just like this line or paragraph says, it involves a comprehensive analysis of all existing content across all platforms. So if a business has content on Instagram, on X, on YouTube, on TikTok, so you need to basically conduct a comprehensive analysis on the content across all platforms. Now, it says these steps helps in identifying the content that is performing well. So once you identify certain contents that are performing well, you indicate them down. Once you identify certain contents that perform well, you are able to take down notes. You identify contents that are not performing well, you are able to take down notes. And with all of this, you are now taking an audit. And from this, you can now identify what could be the reason why these contents are not performing well. You can highlight certain things that you would want to change. It could be, the pictures that are used on the visual, on the graphics. It could be, the length of the words on the visual, or it could be that these words are not converting. Let us try a different copywriting strategy or a different copy to basically test it out to see how well it converts. For your YouTube image, it could be your banner image. I think there's a thing it's called your captions. Basically, it could be your captions. That your captions might not be so engaging, so it's not pulling people to actually engage with your video. That could be the reason, actually. So all of these things are information that you have to take down. Once you have all of these information down, you can reiterate it, create certain variations and test them. There's something called A/B testing in marketing, where you test variations of copies, where you test variations of subject line to see which one is interesting, which ones are people engaging with the most. So once you are able to conclude this test, you basically get the results, and with that result, you can now establish a fact on what is working and what is not. So let's move down. Now let's take a look at some things that you can do in terms of performing a content audit. We look at existing content. So create a detailed list of all existing content, including blog posts, videos, ebooks, social media content, and more. So what do you need to do? You need to take an inventory of the content. So you need to create a detailed list of the blog posts, videos, ebooks, the social media content, and basically every form of content that you can find. Now, once you are done creating a list of this content, these various content types, now you want to evaluate the performances of this content. Now you want to analyze the metrics like their page views. So if it's a blog page, you want to analyze the page views. You want to analyze the average time that viewers spent on the page um, consuming your content. You want to also analyze the conversion. If there are certain links you want people to click, there's a sign up link, you want to analyze the conversion. You want to check the bounce rate. Bounce rate, it means how many people just got to your website and they left immediately because they didn't find um, relevant things, or what they didn't find what they were looking for on your website. You get to see the keywords that brought them to your website, and you can better optimize your page, so you do not rank for that keyword. Because if you are having a lot of bounce rate on your website, it's actually not cool. Now you want to also look at your conversion rates. How many people converted from your ads, from your videos? How many people converted while engaging with your blog post? And all of these things are things you want to highlight and you want to take down. Social shares. So if this is a metric that is really important to your business, you want to also take this down, because if a lot of people are sharing it, it means it's relatable. So you want to get these numbers down so you can create more relatable content, so that it's going to increase shares. Increasing shares would basically help you increase the coverage or the reach of your content. Now the next one is to identify gaps and opportunities. Determine what content is missing based on the needs of your personas and business objectives. Now, at this point, you want to, from your analysis, you are now able to come up with certain assumptions or with certain results. You are now able to come out with certain reasons why a content might be performing less and why some content might be performing better. Now, once you're able to identify these gaps and opportunities, what you need to do is to take advantage of this information to better position and structure your content strategy moving forward. So at this point, this is 8:30. I'm going to stop the lesson here, and we continue by tomorrow while I take questions. So at this moment, you can start sending in your questions. Let me know your concerns on the new topic that we are talking about, how to set up a content strategy for a brand, and how basically the things that you need to do in order to ensure you have a perfect content strategy set up. So please, can I start getting your questions? Yeah, thank you very much. You can send questions. Okay, an announcement just actually came in, for students. If you haven't done your assignment, you should head over to the LMS and do your assignment. It's due on Wednesday, which is the 4th of September, 12 p.m. West African time. So please, if you haven't done your assignment, please head over to the LMS and complete your assignment. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of questions coming in. So I'll start from the very last one that I am seeing it right here. Someone is asking what is KPI. It means key performance indicator. Yeah, someone just typed that out, so you can check to see what key performance indicator is. It's something that you can easily grasp. Now someone is asking if I can speak on inbound marketing and outbound marketing. So I think it's something that you can go read about. But then the simplest explanation I can give you about inbound marketing is inbound marketing are marketing activities that a business engages in that attracts people to their business. Now, so let me make reference to a physical business now. So let's say a business is trying to launch a new store somewhere in a new location. And what they did was that while they were actually setting up their structure, they made sure that they invested a lot of money on aesthetics, and they ensured that there's no way you're going to pass that vicinity and you're not going to stay at that place. Now, this business has invested a lot of time into setting up structures that will attract people to their business. So someone would actually pass that street and want to see what is happening here. They want to find out what this business is doing. Now, that is how what inbound marketing is, and that's basically how it works. Now, let's relate that to the internet. Now, as a business in the internet, how do I create inbound content? Now, I want to create educational videos that are going to educate people about the things I do as a business. So let's say I'm into the health space and I sell medical products. Now, I could create content on certain health challenges that people face, and when they get to, or when they eventually when they stumble on my content, they'll get to engage with that content, listen to the value I'm actually dishing out, and they'll go to my page and see who is this person, what is he doing, and how can I engage with this business. Now, this is you using inbound marketing to attract people. Why for outbound marketing? I'm sure you have been online on Instagram or on Facebook where you see ads that are popping up on you. Now, that is example of outbound marketing, where businesses with certain information they have, they go out to the market to advertise their products to prospective customers. Uh, Damilola says, Damilola is asking about what is organic traffic. Organic traffic, these are traffic that are organic. When we say organic, these are traffic that are not earned with paid ads. So you do not need to spend any money for you to get this traffic. Now, that is what organic traffic is. Now, this is not what we are talking about today. We are talking about content strategy. When we'll be looking at SEO, that's when we get to talk about what organic traffic is in details, and I'll get to show you some examples on how businesses gain organic traffic online. Yeah, there are actually tools that can be used to conduct analysis, but that's what we are going to be talking about in the next lesson, which will be scheduled for tomorrow. So that's like the next slide where I ended, where we're going to look at a couple of tools, that you can use to conduct this analysis. And besides, some of the applications that we use, like Facebook, Instagram, they already have this inbuilt analytics tool that gives you info on your engagement, and basically just gives you a general insight on how your content is performing. Someone is asking, can we use inbound marketing for a health herbal product? Of course you can. Now, what kind of content do we use to attract them? Now, this is where you implement what you learned on identifying your audience, and once you're able to identify your audience, then you can determine what form of content you can use to attract them. Now, someone's asking, how do I create a perfect and flexible content calendar? Now, at the end of this session, we're going to look at some websites or some application that you can use to create a content calendar. You can do this. I think you can do this on an Excel sheet. If you just want something very simple, you can also create. You can also create a content calendar on your Google Calendar. That can actually serve as your content calendar. So yeah, that also works. Can we get a template that we can edit for the content strategy? Now, someone is asking for a template for the content strategy. Now, I'll try and work around something, but because the content strategy could be okay, I'll try and work around something and see how we can get that. Now, yeah, this is Lillian saying LinkedIn gives her insights. Yeah, that's LinkedIn gives you data insights on how many people saw your posts. They even go as far as telling you. So I think if you are on a paid plan, they can give you insights on people who viewed your profile, and you get to see is looking at who is actually looking at the things you're doing on LinkedIn. Can you teach us how to set up social media ads? I think this should be coming up. It's if it's in the curriculum, I believe it should actually come up. So we'll look at that. Introduction. Receiving a discount code of people how to this content acquisition. Now, someone is asking about customers often will subscribe after receiving their discount codes for free product. How can I avoid this as a content strategist? Trying to create more consistent content. So now this actually depends on a couple of things because I send a lot of emails. I manage emails a lot, and some of the things that could make people unsubscribe from your emails, it's the number of emails that you send to them. So at times you should, if you notice this a lot, because if someone signs up for your newsletter and gets something from you, then it possibly means they are actually interested in your business and they'll buy more because if they are able to make that purchase. And then over time, people change in terms of their interest and um, their interest might no longer align with your product. Now that also happens. So that's why over time it's even recommended that over time you purge your list because someone might be working in this company and is interested in this software and something might change and they might no longer be interested. So I'm just giving you instances that could lead to unsubscribe in your email list. Can I create a content calendar without taking permission from the owner of the brand? Well, you can do this if you are trying to get across to a company and you are trying to get them to give you an opportunity to manage their content strategy. You can you can develop a content calendar for them and you can use this and pitch to them that, hey, this is what I do. It can help the content calendar can help you better streamline your content and can help you achieve. You can basically set aside the results that you want to achieve, and with this content calendar we can work towards it, set up the relevant strategies that can help you achieve this. So you are basically using this to sell yourself to that business, and they would likely get you on board to help them implement it and help them to achieve the results that you speculated. Sharon, I think basically what you just need to understand is you need to understand what inbound marketing is and outbound marketing. Now, filling out a survey is a way for you to gain insights about your customers. So there are different forms of surveys. There are businesses that conduct surveys with their current leads, and there are businesses that could just throw out a survey on the internet, just because they want to find out certain information. So surveys are basically meant to help you gather insights and data so you can take certain decisions. Is when we get the files on drive. Okay, yeah. So for the lessons, hopefully by tomorrow, it's going to be shared across to everyone because we have a lesson by tomorrow. So it will be shared across to it's going to be shared across to you all actually, so that by tomorrow you can have access to the slides. Now, what does it mean to generate leads? Generate leads basically means generating prospects. So for or generating customers. So leads are potential buyers of your product or services. So whatever strategy you intend to leverage in order to generate leads, it basically means that you want to sell your product. So you can do this using social media ads, you can do this using organic traffic, you can do this by creating value-based content, and then you ask people to. So I don't know if you have come across some videos on Instagram where they will tell you that okay, they have 7 business ideas that will guarantee you, to make a certain amount of money. If you want me to send it to you, um, type a specific word, and when you type that word they ask you for a particular information, and then they send it to you. Now they are actually using that medium to generate leads. So you just need to identify which medium as a business would be your preferred mode for generating leads. Now, I just explained what lead generation means. It's a process whereby you reach out to potential customers for your product or service. My question is on pricing models. We never spoke anything about pricing models. Please let us stick to the topic of today. Mercy, I have explained what it means to generate leads. I just did. Is there a similarity between KPI and keywords? No, there is no similarity between KPI and keywords. KPI simply means key performance indicator. So it basically means that, so it's something that you have to define for your business. It is dynamic. For some people, key performance indicator are things that you want to, are certain metrics that you want to track after a campaign. Why keywords? Keywords are unique words to every business, okay? Keywords are words that you want your business to actually rank for on the internet. Now, I initiated a search that says blue school bag. That is a keyword. So it just, now there are different forms of keyword there. Something called a short form, a short tail keyword, and a long tail keyword. Now that's deep into SEO and all. We're going to basically talk about it in the future, but then just get to understand that with keywords, it makes it easier for people to find certain information on the internet, which includes products, which includes blog posts, and content in general. Why KPI is basically a metric that you use to determine the outcome of your campaign. Can content audits be likened to benchmarking? Well, I think all of these things depends on your contents and what you mean by benchmarking. Okay, so now there are certain benchmark in terms of industries, in terms of how certain things can be done. So I think it's just based on you, with the knowledge that you have about about content audit and all, how you can basically conduct an audit to compare this report with others in the industry. So I think it just, at this point, it's actually based on you as the content strategy. So let's say there are certain benchmark in the industry, and if a company is not getting up to that benchmark, you can come in as a content strategist and sell yourself to that business. Okay, this is what I can do to help you get to the benchmark that others in the industry are attaining. So this is just so you can use this to actually sell yourself to a business as a content strategist. What do I do in other words? If my strategy is buy one get one free, what do I do in other words? I didn't get that. That question isn't complete. But then it means you have an offer that you are dishing out to your prospective customers, and offers really it actually depends on how persuasive your offer is. Offers are a great way to actually improve sales for businesses. Can content calendar be linked to the supposed platforms? Your content calendar basically helps you plan. So once you are able to plan on your content calendar, it just makes it easy to implement it. Now, for a tool like Canva, and there are some social media marketing tools, okay, that helps you to manage your content. So you can just schedule your content on that same calendar. So if that calendar has that feature, you can schedule your content. Let's say after everything has been planned, you can schedule your content and then dish it out. But then basically your content calendar just helps you plan. So once you are done with your planning on your content calendar, you can also have a calendar that helps you implement these things where it's actually streamlined, just like I gave an example with the content planner on Canva and on some other social media applications. For inbound and outbound marketing, please, you have to watch a repeat of this session, in order to, better understand what it is, and you can also engage in more research. Example of organic ads. Now, there are no organic ads. When something is organic, it means you did not, it's not an ad. An ad is not organic, so you cannot actually use those two words together. Now, someone is asking which is better in conversion, inbound or interruption marketing. Now, interruption marketing was just a term used on that infographics, but you can actually call it, for better understanding, you can actually call it outbound marketing. Okay, so both of them are marketing strategies, but inbound marketing is more streamlined. So when I mean that it's more streamlined, it helps you to basically target people who are interested in your service or product. So it makes it easy for them to find you. While for outbound marketing, because most times you might really need to go out, because not everybody might be able to find you on the internet. So that's where outbound marketing comes into place, where you use channels like paid ads, especially paid ads, to reach out to the people on the internet, introduce your products to them and basically get them to take action based on the copy on your ads. Yeah, you're welcome. Can get you help me rate myself in line with content creators? SEO basically helps you to be seen on the internet. So if you have a good SEO, if you have a good SEO setup, now this has to do with your website. Actually, that makes it easy for you to be found with certain keywords. Like I said, keywords are words that you want to be found with on the internet. So with SEO, it makes it easier for people to find you based on certain keywords that are relevant to your business. Abigail, you've dropped your question. What is your question that hasn't been answered? Now, what's the difference between social media ads and organic? Social media ads. So these are the kind of ads you see on Facebook and Instagram where you see people actually come at you and introduce their products to you. While organic, so if you have been on social media, let's say you want to buy something and you have gone to the search box on any social media platform to search for either a bag, to search for either fashion items. Now, this is you, and after you initiated the search, you were able to find certain businesses on Instagram that you bought something from. Now, that happened organically. They didn't have to spend money in order to get you to patronize them. So that's basically the difference. For organic ads, it means you have to spend. For organic ads, it means you do not have to spend resources in order for you to make a sale. But with paid ads, you need to spend resources in order for you to attract people to either your social media account, your products, or your landing page in order to make a sale. Now, someone is saying I should speak more on page, off page, and technical SEO. Now, that's a different topic entirely. It's a different topic entirely. So, I think what we'll do is we'll just leave that when it gets to the point where we'll have to talk about SEO in general. Then, then you gain more insight on what on page, off page, and technical SEO is. What is the second point and its uses? I don't understand your question, Abigail. What is the second point and its uses in pricing models? I don't really understand your question. As a beautician, where is the best place to write a content? As a beautician, where's the best place to write the contents? Now, you basically have to test the market. Okay, now you can check where are other beauticians, where are they getting more traffic? You're on the internet, you use Facebook, you use Instagram, you use YouTube. Now, where are other beauticians? Where are they? Where are they getting more traffic from? Where are they making sales from? Now, this is you leveraging competitor insight in order for you to understand, what your potential customers would like. And with this information, you can come to a conclusion on social media platforms that you can basically get started with in order to reach your potential audience. Clarify on interruptive marketing. So interruptive marketing also means outbound marketing, like I said. Outbound marketing, this is a kind of marketing whereby you use paid ads to get to your prospect on the internet. I believe if you have for a lot of us here that have used Facebook and Instagram, you would be using your Facebook and Instagram, and you're going to see a post that pops up on your timeline. You are not following that person doesn't follow you, and then you see it tag at the top, sponsored. Now that is paid ads. That ad is basically interrupting your timeline or your feed. Now I believe that it now makes sense. It's now you can now relate it to why it's being called interruptive marketing because it interrupts you. It's not, these are people you are not following. Ideally, you should be seeing posts from people that you are following on your feed, but it's coming from a business entirely. Website analytics basically means data from the engagement on your website, from the activities on your website. That's what website analytics is basically. And there are tools that you can use to gain insight into your website analytics, like Google Analytics. Now, there's something I want to tell you guys here. Anything I talk about, and I shared, I share a bit of insight to it. You can go search and gain more insight about it, so that in future classes, whenever I talk about something, you can easily understand it because a lot of these things are related. And you really get to understand the concepts, all of the concept that we are talking about, because in this space you really need to have hands-on experience. You really need to know these things because you will be implementing these things for businesses. What is content audit? uh For content audit, I spoke about this. I think you should make reference to the video afterwards so you can understand what content audit is. I spoke about this extensively. Now, I spoke about this extensively actually. So we have a few minutes to the end of this session. Please, by tomorrow, you're going to get the notes so you can read, and any part where you need more clarity on, please, we can speak about that on the class tomorrow. More marketing is powered by creativity and talent. What powers outbound marketing? Similar Yoido says inbound marketing is powered by creativity and talent. What powers outbound marketing, sir? Now, if you get my definition, of course, it's powered by creativity and talent. Outbound marketing too is powered by creativity and talent, basically, because you need creativity in order to design ads that would captivate people. Okay, you need creativity and talent in order to design a strategy and add strategy that is going to basically target your potential audience. So it works in both cases. You just really need to understand what inbound marketing is and what outbound marketing is, and it can be applied in both cases. You're welcome. What are the three types of SEO? I We should not go into that now, please. I think if you really want to get that look through, watch this session once more. You hear me speak about it. Why I don't want to mention it so we don't get a lot of questions regarding it, since that's not what we are doing at the moment. Yeah, you're welcome. Please fill out the attendance. Please fill out the attendance. Good night, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining in for today's session. I hope you were able to learn a lot about a content strategy and how you go about creating a content strategy. I hope you were able to capture all of this. So, like I said, the notes will be available by tomorrow, and yeah, we are going to continue by tomorrow. Do take care and enjoy your evening.